Good Tuesday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by the Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. Well, currently 41 degrees outside here at the farm this morning. As for rain totals from Sunday into yesterday, here at the farm was around a little over 4/10. Looking at the calendar, on Wednesday's midday show, Matt Reese visits with Lorain County soybean producers Eric and Adele Flynn to discuss their involvement with Grow Next Gen, a project of Ohio Soybean Council and the Soybean Checkoff. Well, U.S. beef and pork exports posted year-over-year increases in October. That's according to the USDA's data compiled by the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Beef exports during October totaled 105,269 metric tons, up 1% from last year, while the value jumped 3% to $860.4 million. From January through October, beef export values was 4% higher than last year at $8.68 billion, despite 2 percentage point drop in volume to 1.066 million metric tons. Pork exports reached 252,411 metric tons during the month, 3% higher than last year, while value also rose 3 percentage points to $710 million. Through the first 10 months of 2024, pork exports rose 5 percentage points from a year ago to 2.49 million metric tons, valued at $7.07 billion, 6 percentage points above 2023. For the year, pork exports are projected to pass 3 million metric tons for the first time, exceeding 2020's volume record of 2.98 million. Now let's check in for an update from Matt Reese.
On this week's Ohio AgNet podcast, we're digging into soil health. Be sure to check it out at ocj.com or wherever your podcasts are found.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Well, corn sales for exports surge while soybean sales decline. Sales of corn to overseas buyers jumped week to week, while soybean sales declined, according to the Ag Department. Corn sales in the 7 days that ended on November 28th jumped to 1.73 million metric tons, up 63% from the previous week and 4% from the prior 4-week average. Mexico was the big buyer at 392,400 metric tons, followed by Japan at 357,700 tons, and an unnamed country at 283,600 tons. South Korea was in for 212,000 metric tons, and Costa Rica bought 84,000 tons. The total would have been higher, but Guatemala canceled orders for 27,000 tons. Exports for the week rose 3% to 1.05 million tons, USDA said. Soybean sales fell 7% week over week to 2.31 million metric tons, and that's still up 17% from the average for this time of the year. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at today's weather after this.
Since 1926, Nationwide has been rooted in agriculture. Founded as the Farm Bureau Mutual Automobile Insurance Company with a mission to protect farmers and their communities, we honor our legacy by offering solutions that evolve with the complex needs of today's farms. As the leading insurer of America's farms and trusted by 8 farm bureaus for 100 years and counting, Nationwide is on your side. Number 1 insurer based on 2023 direct written premium per AM Best. Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Hi, I'm Greg Peterson of the Peterson Farm Brothers. If you've seen our videos, you know we're proud to be farmers. Farming can be dangerous. Never assume location or depth of underground utilities or pipelines. Before you start any work on your farm, call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com to have underground lines located. It only takes a minute and can save your life.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Now let's check out today's weather, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Turning colder over Ohio here as we move through today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast updates. We saw yesterday was front running, this frontal boundary that comes through. The front will eventually move through today. We'll still see a few hit and miss scattered showers in southeast and south central parts of Ohio today, but mostly we're just looking at air mass change. As the front comes through, we'll see winds kick up and be very, very strong. And with those winds, cold air comes in very quickly. Lake effect is going to be part of our vernacular probably for the rest of the week, mostly for Wednesday night through Thursday, but I won't rule out those strong north and northwest winds bringing clouds off the Great Lakes already tomorrow, and we'll see that linger into Friday as well. Temperatures moderate over the weekend. We'll see a little bit of rain trying to push up into Ohio, likely on Saturday, midday and afternoon, anywhere from a few hundreds to a few tenths. That's all. It's not a big deal right now. We follow that up with a mild Sunday, and temperatures don't fall off much next week either. Not super warm. That warmer air is sitting just to our south of the Ohio River, but we're not cold at all. That cold air is locked up north. Next week, we see multiple Clipper-like systems moving through the Great Lakes, but they don't dive south here. So want to get off again clouds? Yes. But I think the warm air is definitely going to be a story later on next week and into the week of Christmas. We could be above normal on temperatures as we head toward Christmas Day. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, Mexico has reported a case of New World screwworm in a cow in Chiapas near the border, prompting the United States Department of Agriculture's Animal Plant and Health Inspection Service to temporarily ban imports of live cattle and bison from Mexico. This invasive pest, once eradicated from the United States, poses significant challenges for the cattle industry. The ban has immediate implications for the U.S. cattle market, as Mexico is a major supplier of feeder cattle, especially during the fall peak season. About 5% of this year's feedlot placements have been Mexican imports. A prolonged ban could tighten feeder cattle supplies, potentially driving prices higher. Following the announcement, feeder cattle futures rose sharply, with contracts increasing up to $4 per counterweight. Well, the United Soybean Board continues to deliver economic returns to U.S. soybean farmers through strategic investment. That's despite a challenging economic landscape of low commodity prices and tight margins. This remains critical to ensure farmers receive measurable value on farm and through expanded opportunities. A recent study confirms the soy checkoff's positive return of at least 4.5 to 1 on investment across the categories of export market development, domestic demand enhancing research, on-farm production research, and soybean promotion. Altogether, soy checkoff funded initiatives at the national and state level supported almost 31,000 jobs, added $2.6 billion in labor income, contributed $5.9 billion in total value, and increased the U.S. GDP by $9.8 billion. Well, after several years of increases, farmland prices seem to be easing somewhat. While demand for quality farmland is still high, that demand for land has backed down somewhat.
We're kind of at what I think on the land market, if, then, but stage. If grain prices stay low, if farm incomes stay low, if liquidity keeps decreasing, then farmer buyers are going to be more hesitant to be able to buy and bid up like they typically do.
That slowing could change if government payments pick up again.
If there are ad hoc farm payments, price support payments that are coming because of the low incomes and high input costs, if interest rates would come down, those type of things, then we'll see some more support in the land values because the underlying income and outlook is better. But if certain things happen, then this probably happens, but there's a lot of uncertainty and wild cards.
As President-elect Trump gets set for term number 2, tariffs could impact the price of farmland.
If tariffs get imposed and start restricting our grain commodity exports, hurts farm income, won't be good for farm income and land prices overall. But if there are additional payments like there were in 2019 and 20 to add to liquidity, that will help support incomes and stuff. So a lot of uncertainty right now.
That was Randy Dickhout, farmland specialist from the Agricultural Economic Insights. Well, participants of the final USDA Agricultural Trade Mission of the year offered perspective from their recent effort to expand local and regional ag export opportunities. Rod Bain from the U.S. Department of Agriculture has more.
Recapping USDA's final agricultural trade mission of 2024.
They enjoy and appreciate the relationship with American agriculture. They want to expand on that relationship. And all of our meetings, from private sector to government to academia and research, have been nothing but positive.
Foreign Agricultural Service Administrator Daniel Whitley commenting during the early December mission to Morocco, leading a delegation of agribusiness, commodity and trade organization, and state agriculture department representatives. He notes Morocco is growing as a gateway for U.S. ag exports, not just in the North Africa region, but the entire African continent. As mission participant, Indiana State Ag Director Don Lamb adds,
the partnerships that the states get to have with the USDA, because they're asking for that connection at the local level. And that's what we in the states can give them, is some of that connection, that local feel, and then we have the power of the USDA behind us in that partnership.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Hey, thanks, Rod. Well, the USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service announced the start of its national milk testing strategy to address H5N1 infections in U.S. dairy herds. The measure builds on steps already taken by the USDA and its federal and state partners since H5N1 was first found in dairy cattle in March 2024. The federal order and guidance requires that unpasteurized milk samples nationwide be shared with USDA for testing. The guidance was developed with significant input from state, veterinary, and public health officials and will facilitate comprehensive H5N1 surveillance of the national milk supply and dairy herds. The new federal order requires sharing raw milk samples upon request from any entity responsible for a dairy farm, such as a milk transporter, transfer station, or processing facility. Second, it requires owners with positive cattle to provide information that enables contract tracing. Finally, it requires labs and veterinarians to report positive tests to USDA. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
In a time of tight margins when every penny counts, could you be saving more on your monthly energy bill? Ohio Farm Bureau is here to help members get competitive electric and natural gas supply prices through its Energy Savings Program. Participants save an average of 10% on their rates. Let Ohio Farm Bureau help you take the guesswork out of energy savings. Request your free bill analysis at ofb.ag/energy program. Savings not guaranteed. Actual savings may vary.
Get the equipment and trucks you need at Ritchie Brothers' next Great Lakes Regional event on December 11th and 12th. This absolute unreserved auction will feature online bidding, and items are located in Columbus, Chicago, and Detroit. Choose from close to 5,000 items, including a wide selection of construction equipment, truck tractors, and more. Don't miss Ritchie Brothers' Great Lakes Regional event on December 11th and 12th. For more details, visit rbauction.com. Again, that's rbauction.com.
Sold them.
It's now time for the Louis Dreyfus Grain Analysis, and that's brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Here's Ryan Martin.
After a promising start, we just kind of frittered away most of the day yesterday in the marketplace. As taking a look back, we saw negative numbers on soybeans, corn a little bit higher. Wheat markets saw the best gains in the hard wheats, both Spring and Kansas City. Chicago wheat was kind of meh overall, but was mostly in the positive. As we take a look at the reasons, that's what's really interesting yesterday. There were not a lot of big headlines out there. The soybeans have pulled back after a good start, mostly due to South American weather. Broadly, it's favorable. And we also heard headlines of maybe some slowing Russian wheat exports. That's part of the reason why hard red winter wheat and hard red spring wheat took off. Yesterday, oil's contribution to crush during the prior week was talked about, only about 43%. There was a modest unwinding of long oil short meal that was noted yesterday. Spot West Texas Intermediate crude was up about $1.35 a barrel. Turmoil swirling in the Middle East because of the fall of Syria's tyrannical government, and that was something that the market was watching very, very closely. Other breaking news, though, was few and far between. Paris was primarily the benefit of Russian wheat export potential falling off. The Paris milling wheat was up nicely during the day. Weekly export inspections didn't do anything. The week ending December 5th had 41 million bushels on corn versus 37 million the previous week. Soybeans, 60 million bushels, down from 78 the prior week. And wheat, 8 million meager bushels versus 11 million the week prior. So again, that weekly export inspections report didn't have anything that we were super excited about. It is needing to be noted, though, that year-to-date, corn is still up 32% year-on-year, beans up 19%, wheat up 30%. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight markets, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. December corn, 433.5, down a half. March corn, 441.5, down a quarter. January soybeans, 991 3/4, up 1 3/4. March soybeans, 997.5, up 2 pennies. December wheat, $5.41 1/4, unchanged. Looking at livestock from yesterday's close, December live cattle $187.80, up 42 cents. February live cattle $187.02, up 85 cents. December lean hogs $82.90, down 40 cents. February lean hogs $86.50, down 82 cents. March feeder cattle $255.20, up 52 cents. April feeder cattle $256.25, up 67 cents. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.